Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending this webinar. We're very thankful that so many people showed up. And before I get started, I would like to pass the word to Dimitri to say give some short introduction before we get started.
Yes, thank you very much, Hans, and thank you to all the participants. I'm Dimitri Bellini. I'm the CEO of QUADRATA Service Group. We are a system integrator here in Italy, and we are mainly working for enterprise customer for open source project. And we are using Postgres, I think, from 6 years with our installation, Zabbix installation, and other software. So this is a very short description of us.
So excellent, thank you. My name is Hans. I've been doing Postgres all my life. So we are working together with our partner. And we've been providing Postgres services for over 25 years, and we're operating worldwide. So what we're doing is we do Postgres. That's what we do, and that's what we're good at. Yeah, let's get started. The thing is, this is a picture of which I've taken a couple of years ago when landing at Vienna airport. So I came home some time ago from doing some business trip, and it took this picture of the outskirts of Vienna, right? Didn't think much. But then I decided to use that because it gives an excellent example of what it means to run Postgres these days. So if you look at only this picture, you will find people using Postgres for real estate management. If you take a look at the Danube, which is the river in front of you, on the left-hand side, you will see United Nations, which is using Postgres for nuclear test ban treaty and some other stuff. You will see the Vienna graveyard, which is using Postgres. You will see an island in the Danube where you can do barbecue, which is using Postgres. You will see cable television using GIS data. Where are all the lines? You will see a television station, which is using Postgres. And next to the stadium, you will see banking, insurance, and finance using Postgres. But just having one shot out of an aircraft window on final descent, you will notice that Postgres is not some small thing anymore. It's in fact powering entire cities. So if I remember correctly, Vienna city government alone is 500 applications based on Postgres. And what I've just mentioned is way beyond what the city government does. So if anybody asks you who is using Postgres, I mean, everybody, right? So if you do a phone call, if you use television, if you use a car, if you die, if you have an insurance, I can assure you there is Postgres somewhere inside the package, even if you don't know this. In other words, if somebody says, is Postgres ready for business critical applications? I would say that the nuclear test is a fairly business critical thing. I would say that air traffic control is a very serious thing. And I would also assume that cross-border energy trading is a fairly important thing. And I think that even radar coverage for military purposes or for civil aviation is a fairly important thing. And obviously this is an Italian workshop, so food is also important. It's even there. So to answer the question, is Postgres ready for the real world? I would say so, just out of this tiny screenshot here. But let me focus on, before we get started, on why Postgres is cool and why this is all very important. This is a map of the world shipping choke points. If you look on the right-hand side, you will see east of India, you will see the Strait of Malacca. 40% of world shipping goes through Malacca, 40%. You will see Horn of Africa, you will see the Cape, you will see Strait of Hormuz, you will see Suez, you will see Gibraltar, you will see the Panama Canal, right? So there are essentially a handful of choke points which allow the world to function or not to function. And this is important because if there is a tiny strip of sea which controls 40% of world shipping, what does this mean? What's the equivalent in the digital world, right? So the equivalent in the digital world is hyperscalers. The equivalent in the digital world is backbones. The equivalent in the digital world is electricity and things like that, right? So if you just take those choke points in world trade and understand that blocking a handful of things on this planet can seriously impact the life of millions of people, we need to ask ourselves, what does it mean for our digital existence? I've been to Africa quite often, frequently, and they told me, guys, we don't want our hospital to go down just because one guy decides that he wants to put sanctions on us, right? Why should somebody in Egypt have a problem with his grandma in hospital just because of geopolitics? Why do you want to have this? You don't. You want to have digital independence. You want to be able to run heart surgery without Amazon. You want to be able to go on vacation or to book vacation or to run your hospitals or to run your supply chains without taking care of some president's personal behavior. Choose any president. This is not targeted for one. Choose any guy who might affect this. And imagine how many other things would work if there is no digital declaration of independence. If you go to the Arab area, they've understood this. If you go to Africa, they've understood this, right? Many of them. And this is something that should also make it into our European and American brains, let's say, that there is a need for resilience. And what Postgres can give you, to close the loop here, is freedom. Freedom does not mean that free as in free beer, but freedom means that nobody can ban you from running open source. Nobody can take it away from you. And if everything goes south, there will always be somebody there who you can pay and who will be able to help you to do this in a practical way and to make sure that your things are operational. In other words, you don't want grandfather to die if one of those guys here just doesn't want you to behave the way you do, right? So freedom is difficult, but you don't need a wall to lock somebody in. What does it mean for practical purpose? And this is not only true for Postgres, this is true for an entire digital ecosystem. And digital ecosystem does not only mean governments, it means personal data processing, but it also means enterprise data processing, right? So if you're a company operating worldwide, the Chinese might not like this vendor, the Americans might not like the other vendors, Europeans don't have an opinion on anything, and the Africans might not be able to run this or that, or just don't want to decide on East or West, right? So if you're running something that is by design allowing you to do things in a professional way while maintaining digital independence, I would say this is a big asset, which is, in my judgment, way more important than saving some license cost here and there or being able to whatever. Postgres is very good at all those things, don't get me wrong, but we need to understand that there is life beyond a license. There is life beyond cost, because there's a thing called resilience, right? Postgres will excel at cost. Postgres will excel at resilience. Postgres will excel at many of those things, right? So it's important to do that. So let's see what this means in real life. If you're running anything at enterprise scale, and I'm talking about operating system, I'm talking about databases, I'm talking about web servers, whatever it is. If you're running stuff at enterprise scale in an enterprise grade environment, which means compliance, regulations, scale, importance, right? There are a couple of things which are really important, which means keep it running, make it safe, make it fast, and most importantly, have it under control. right? So it's about easy deployment, automation, and if we could sum it up in one word, I would choose operations. If you're running something on 20,000 systems, and we do have customers with thousands of database deployments, the same customer, it's not about, oh, hey, I don't like this color or whatever. It's about, can we run this on 10,000 systems? And if we can run this, can we operate it in a way that we can maintain it, that we have the stuff to do it, that we have it under control, that we are happy with security updates and stuff like that. Obviously, Postgres is an excellent database on the SQL level. It gives you good performance. It gives you high availability. It gives you all those wonderful things that make a tech guy happy. And I'm a tech guy. Postgres makes me happy on a technical level. The thing is, if you're running this on 10,000 systems, it's not only about the beauty of your / whatever command. This is nice for the tech guys. If you're running this on enterprise grade, thousands of systems, let's call it passports, let's call it phone systems, let's call it hospitals, let's call it industries with thousands of applications. What really matters here is what happens when you run it. Can you run it actually? I saw an interesting interview with Quentin Tarantino yesterday, which is an American filmmaker, and he said, I was afraid of writing a part which is unplayable, right? It doesn't matter if you have the best database if it's too complicated to run. And this is exactly what we want to focus on here. So easy deployment means let's take an example. Installing IBM software in 690 easy to understand steps. If something is easy to understand and has 690 steps, what this means is missing automation. If something needs 690 steps to run, you have 690 options to fail. But you don't have time to fail when you're deploying something 10,000 times. It's a compliance problem, it's a security problem, it's a consistency problem, it's a manpower problem. So easy deployment means if you run Postgres, you can run obviously packages. You can have automation with Ansible scripts for easy rollout. You can have container automation. And obviously, there is also container orchestration, which means Kubernetes, OpenShift, Ranger, whatever there is. There is a way to run that. So installation is one thing. But if you need to upgrade for security reasons, for compliance reasons, for whatever reason, because eventually you can't keep something running forever, it's also about fast turnaround times. If there's a security problem and it needs 6 months to fix it, it's as good as no fix, okay? So when we're talking about easy deployment, what this implies means fast security updates. This implies fast operations, and it also means compliance and regulation. If you're in a heavy regulated industry, you might be subjected to compliance regulations, you might be subject to legal requirements, or just plain operations. So it's not only about, oh, this is easy, this is fast. It also means that it can, if there's something goes wrong, meaning a bug, a security threat, CV, whatever, you also need to be able to handle this in an efficient way. So easy deployment is not just convenience, it's also a lifeline in a technical environment that is subject to security risk. Automation. Recently, I've spoken to a customer outside Europe, and they're running 11,000 MS SQL systems. So let's play a game and say, okay, we have 11,000 systems. We want to install them, and let's just say, let's do this by hand. Let's take an MS SQL server, install and configure it by hand, and let's assume each system takes half a day. So we take 11,000 systems, half a day each, means 5,500 days. That means 20 people for a year. just to repeat the same task. Now, if you repeat the same task by hand 11,000 times, it's not about did you make a mistake? The question is how many mistakes did you make? It's not a question of is there a mistake? The question is how many? If something is repeated by humans 11,000 times, you have to guarantee that it's wrong. So obviously the solution to the problem is automation, because automation does not come to work late on Monday morning because they were out drinking. Automation means it's the same, it's consistent, it's resilient by design, it's consistent by design, it's efficient by design in case the automation is any good, and it's security by design, because if you get it right once, there is no chance of having a mistake somewhere. Either you have a mistake everywhere or you don't have a mistake, right? And this is important because if you want to be secure, it's not like you want to be secure on the majority of your systems. You want to be secure by design and everywhere. And this is what makes easy operations so efficient in Postgres, because Postgres is a database that follows a very simple design philosophy. And let's answer a simple question. Do you work for the database or does the database work for you? If you want to be a database administrator and you like administration because you like digging holes and filling them up again and digging a hole and filling it up again and carrying a stone from left to right and carry it back. If you want to work, sure, you can do that, but it's pointless. What you really want is you want a system that is working for you and you don't need to babysit all the time. You want to run this and it should be running, and attention should be the exception and not the norm. And this is the design philosophy we have in Postgres. You don't want the administrator to be busy. You want the administrator to be lazy, because the system is done in a way that things don't need 5,000 steps, but are easy in terms of operations. And secondly, you want to give those guys a chance to automate for consistency and for security. And you also want cost to be low, obviously, because if you don't have to do monkey tasks, obviously it's going to be better. So if you can answer this question, do you want to work for the database for the sake of being busy, or do you want the database to work for you? This will guide you to some obvious design principles which are important for long-term operations. Because imagine, you have 11,000 servers, something goes wrong, and everybody just has to press one button. How do you organize pressing 11,000 buttons to achieve what at 3 in the morning? How do you do that? So if you can just eliminate this stupid task, this can be the difference between 5 hours downtime and no downtime. Okay, because pressing 11,000 buttons is quite a task. Okay, so obviously not everything is shiny all the times. Things go wrong occasionally, and things go wrong for many reasons. They go wrong because there are mistakes, there are bugs, there are unforeseen situations. There are simply things that make life more complicated for the time being. In this case, obviously you need somebody to provide you with SLAs. We do that with our partners, right? And obviously you don't want to be entertained if something goes wrong. If life is good, everybody goes for a pizza, everybody is happy, dolce vita, right? No problem. But if things go wrong, if your house is burning and the firemen are coming to have a conversation because nice to see you, maybe that's the wrong time, right? So even if everything is supposed to go nice for the majority of time, if something goes wrong, what you don't want is a conversation. What you want is to talk to somebody who knows. We can have the conversation and dolce vita later, but when it's burning, you really need to work with somebody who knows, right? And that's exactly what we provide with our business partners and friends around the world, so that we work together on ensuring exactly this guarantee that when stuff is burning, that's when it counts. And going for a pizza, you can do that when everything is working, right? So that's important. And if you're dealing with data, if you're really dealing with critical systems, you should never forget what you do, right? This could be an emergency room where somebody just had a heart attack and support line doesn't respond. Oh dear, you're dead. This can be an assembly line, which means that you have to shut down an entire factory just because, for whatever reason, you don't want to do that. Or talking data loss. Imagine you've been saving money all your life, and then, oops, your bank just forgot your bank account because who cares? Let's be ignorant. Okay? When you're a database guy, you always have to keep in mind this could be a database that ensures that somebody stays alive. This could be an assembly line that shouldn't stop because otherwise tons of material go to waste. Or this could be somebody's pension fund, which means you're wiping out a life saving just because of ignorance. And that's not to be accepted. We have to be professionals. And I think that's what the Postgres community and also service providers should do. Postgres community is highly professional, and we try to be the same. Okay, because it matters. It's not just we're running a database and tippy hurrah, right? This might be a radio transmission on final approach to Milano Malpensa. So this could be something that matters. So what's our role here in the game with our business partners? We do full stack Postgres. And if you're dealing with Postgres, we provide automation, we provide compliance, migration, and a lot of tooling. Obviously also services around this thing. And what is even more important, and that is especially when we're talking enterprise, is the question of compliance and regulations. If you're dealing with banking or if you're dealing with insurance, you might have heard of GDPR, ISO, SFCA in South Africa, POPI Act South Africa, HIPAA for medical data in America, PCI DSS for credit cards, SOX compliance. There are regulations for European Union. So running this at scale also means that if you're not using commercial databases anymore, it might also mean that you have to work with compliance regulations, you have to pull reports. In a regulated environment, things change. You can also do this with Postgres. That's important for you to know. So if you're planning something that is bigger, right? Make sure that you also keep in mind that there is a way to run this in a compliant and professional way. Okay. And finally, resilience means success, right? Resilience, to close the loop, means digital independence, which translates to control. Resilience means that depending on your infrastructure, you build it in a way that you can run it regardless of what's going on, which means high availability, which means geo-redundancy, which means all kinds of security around that. And if you put this all together, what comes out is success usually. So this is basically my message for today. So any questions either to Dimitri or to me? So yeah, Dimitri, back to you.
Thank you very much, Hans. You make a great presentation, I think. And I think you catch the right point. Freedom does not mean free, but it gives you the opportunity to test, try, and use without any restriction a software. And this is very important also for the Italian market. And this is the beautiful of the open source from my point of view.
And free also means that it can't be taken away. If somebody says, hey, we stop a product, right?
Yeah,
we have this. I did some calculation the other day on how long does a database product live? When does IBM decide, oh, we're bored of this, we don't want this? How long does a database system live as a product? And it's not that long, usually 15 years, 20. Postgres has been around for almost 40 years.
Yeah, I know very well. Was an historical database, no?
Yeah.
And now it's getting more
Traction. Yeah.
exactly
Now
attraction.
it's going into Ferrari mode.
Exactly, more project, more spin-off around the Postgres is born. No, in the last 10 years, no, but 5 years, yes. And we are used to install Postgres in Italy, in financial institute, telco company, highway company. Everyone now is understanding the value behind Postgres and the value proposed by us as a partner of CYBERTEC, because we can ensure them that we have all the tools to give them the resilience.
And the local market in the local language. That's also important.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes.
My Italian is not very good. My grandmother is from the Isonzo area, but my Italian is basically non-existent.
Okay, but my English is the same of your Italian, so it's
Yeah,
not so good at all.
molto bene, molto bene.
Thank you, Hans. Thank you.
Okay, any
there is a
questions from the
question.
audience? Yeah, can you read them
Yeah.
to me because I'm on full screen?
If you open, probably there is no a text question. Please write in the chat if it's possible.
Or feel free to speak out, whatever you want.
Okay, but probably they are not allowed to speak.
Oh. Yeah, but when we're talking about freedom, it only means that I'm free. You're not supposed to speak.
Okay. What is the best way to handle backup in Postgres, especially incremental one? Should I stick with the new built-in backup backup feature in version 17 or use an external tool instead?
It's a question of scale. If you are doing a backup of, let's say, 50 gigabyte database or something, or 100 gig or whatever, there is a lot of tooling around there, like PG Backrest and WalG, which is all built on Postgres internals. What you have is the automation around that. That's what the tooling does. If you want to backup a 600 terabyte database, let's say, you can still do that with the onboard tools, but it might take so long that the backup becomes worthless, right? So if you do backup at 1 gigabyte per second, which is a decent amount of throughput, a terabyte is 20 minutes. But if you have 500 terabytes times 20 minutes, yes, you can take the backup with standard tooling, but it takes too long because you have to copy the data. So if you have something at this scale, you might want to combine Postgres means with storage snapshots. You might want to have the redundancy be the backup and things like that, right? So it's a bit of a question of scale. All the tooling out there is basically built on what Postgres gives you, and you can basically replace parts of it. Let's say you can replace a base backup with a file system snapshot and things like that. So it depends a bit on scale, automation, and what backup means for you. Backup could be, hey, I'm happy with midnight, or it could be continuous, or it could be incremental, or it could be, so it's a question of how do you want it to be, right? I hope this answers the questions in a satisfactory way.
Thank you, Hans. We will see comments, but I think it is okay. Thank you. Okay, you reply. Thank you. But usually we are used to prefer PG Backrest, but maybe
yes, me too.
Okay.
But it's open source. It's free. You have the freedom to choose.
Yes, but sometimes there are too much to choose. Yeah. and you have the doubts to choose the right tool. No, sometimes.
Yeah. So it sounds like the menu in an Italian restaurant. You have 50 choices, and
exactly.
69 of them are excellent.
Exactly. It is sometimes too much freedom could be too much.
And I saw a study from American University. I think the perfect number of choices is 7 or so, because if there are no choices, you are unhappy, and if you have too many choices, you're also unhappy. There's a sweet spot of the number of choices. So I'll give you 4 options. to make you happy, which is backrest, which is wall G. Those are my favorites. Obviously, there is file system snapshot, which you can also use, but there are other tools out there. So you have 3.5 choices, and this is good for, let's say, 95% of cases.
Okay, there is one more question. There is an option to optimize my database for storing and queries.
Huge graphs. 2 options. You can go for recursions with recursive. That's option number 1. This is a bit tricky to write, but there's also an extension for graphs you can load into Postgres, which gives you special operators and data types and stuff like that.
I never heard about huge graphs because I'm not a DBA, so probably.
Yeah, the question is always, what is huge? Huge is very subjective, right?
Yes, depends. Yes, the context. Absolutely.
If everybody has a bike, your Fiat Panda is huge.
Yeah, sure. There are 2 hands raised. Okay, can you write the question here in the text box, in the chat box?
Unless you can unmute yourself, that is also an option.
Maybe. Yeah. Pardon, that was my mistake.
Pardon, pas de problème, c'est le français. Je sais parler le français, pas de problème.
Oh, mamma mia. Hans, you are too...
Yeah,
your knowledge is
my Latin is a bit rusty.
There is no more question?
No more questions?
But maybe you have a question. No?
Yes.
Because on Postgres 18.
Yes.
Which nice feature we will see if I install?
There is a lot of nice stuff. There is skip scans, which is an option to make indexing more efficient because it can skip over rows. That's something I like a lot. Yeah, I like skip scans. Skip scan, my favorite. There's more detailed stuff. By the way, if you look into my blog, we posted about some of those things. Also, I'm a big fan of asynchronous I/O. That's very beneficial for, especially for reading, in parallelism especially. I managed to max out a couple of my SSDs at 6 gigs per second read speed. And I ran directly into a file system contention because the operating system couldn't provide data fast enough. And I said operating system, not the disk, right?
Yes, the file system.
Exactly. Postgres was consuming data more rapidly than the operating system could provide.
Sure, absolutely. Because I know very well, because before I was a storage man, so I know very well. Returning all the new record from update query.
Yes, update, blah, 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 returning, whatever, yeah.
Oh, okay.
There is new and old. I think this was added in 18 also, that you can do new dot star or old dot star.
Yes, exactly. All I reply, yes, okay. But Hans, what do you think about Kubernetes, Postgres on Kubernetes? Because I think Kubernetes is an important topic in the last couple of years.
If you're running a single data warehouse with 100 terabytes of data, it's pointless because there's nothing to automate. But if you're running 5,000 systems and you create 50 every day and you drop a handful every day, it's about operations. So it's a question of how many are you running? It's an operations question. So it doesn't matter if one system is 5% slower or faster on Kubernetes. The question is, can you handle 2,000 because you're a big corporation, right? So imagine you're a Fiat car maker, you're running thousands most likely. So the question is really, how do you handle 1,000 systems? What has to be done? Imagine you've got one system and you're only running one system for private use. Install it on a private PC. That's the best way to do it. But that's not feasible anymore if you're running 5,000. So it's a question of scale rather than a question of what is better, because every layer of complexity is bad.
Exactly.
So it's not going to be faster if you're running Kubernetes.
No.
But the question is, can you handle 10,000 of them? That's the key question. That's why you have it. It's not about making one system faster. It's about making it possible to run 10,000 systems concurrently and operate them in a useful way.
Good answer. Absolutely. It's only a matter of automation and operation.
Yeah, it's about automation. More. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But if we need to use Postgres for a big database, that does not make sense to put the database in Postgres if I
Yeah,
only have one single.
if you're a company with 2 people, right,
Uh,
and you got one database with a lot of data, what do you want to automate?
no, yeah, absolutely. But there are some customers, no, that now there is the mood of natives then try to put everything inside without any sense.
My opinion on that is let's try to be pragmatic and not religious.
Absolutely.
Let's solve the problem.
Yeah, till it's possible, because sometimes some decisions are not made from technician, and but it's what it is, no?
Yeah.
Okay, there is no other question. I think there is no other question, so
Grazie mille, Dimitri.
thank you to you, Hans. I can't say in German, so
Yeah, I only know 4 words in Italian, so
okay.
don't overestimate my language skills.
It's
It's
good
enough to
enough.
say hello and not to end up in jail.
SQL query, Italian, French. So,
Yeah, I know 5 words in Italian and I know 6 SQL instructions, so I'm better at SQL.
Okay,
Cool.
thank you very much.
Thanks everyone for attending, everybody around the world. So I think we had even somebody from Dubai here. So salam.
Yes, me. I am from
You
Dubai.
are from Dubai. I see. Okay,
Yes,
okay. Then salam
because
to
I'm
you.
living here.
Okay, so salam.
Salam alaikum.
Okay.
Have a good evening to all the
Have a
participants.
good evening. See you guys.
Thank you. Bye, Hans. Bye-bye.